Hello and welcome to this drawing tutorial on the sphere. This is part of my series on general models for three-dimensional forms. Oftentimes the notion of three-dimensional structures are simplified into existing of three basic types, and that is one of the box type, one of a cylindrical type, and one of a spherical type. There's plenty of discussion of if that's too simple or not, but we're going to go with that for now. A couple quick things. There's some old drawing marks from a previous drawing that might be coming through here that won't erase. Never mind that. And as we're looking at this, because of the effects of my admittedly low-tech recording system, this may appear sort of distorted and more a little bit of an oval and not so circular. That is not how it would appear, just to make sure you realize that. Starting out with a sphere, yes, creating a sphere means starting out with a circle. No small task in itself, but we're not going to try to create a perfect circle in one line. We're gonna ease into it, sneak up on it. It's never gonna know what hit it. Kidding aside, there's several ways to go about drawing a circle. I'm gonna just sort of do this quickly, and one way of doing it. And that is to sort of just imagine it first. I'm going to go around kind of thinking about the size of the circle that I want to make. I know it's not going to be a perfect circle. I'm going to create a few different versions. And as I start getting more comfortable with what this particular circle ought to look like, I'll start making a little bit darker mark. And I'm going to say that that is good enough to start with. Clean up a little bit, mess it up a little bit. The sphere, based on a circle, is what I'm talking about in this particular video. And what I want to think about, first of all, after having this somewhat decent circle, is imagining where a light source is coming from. If I imagine a light source coming from the upper left and sort of hitting a spot on the sphere, which appears as a circle now, you wouldn't know it's a sphere. Somewhere around there, I'm going to create this axis that will split the sphere in half. And what I want to do after that is create the perpendicular axis to this line that represents the direction of the light source. And that is going to help me understand the basic shape of the form shadow, the shadow that's going to be created by the fact that light cannot get around a certain part of the sphere. So depending on where this light source is, the idea will the specifics will change, but the basic idea will be similar. And I like to think of it as basically creating a succession of different crescent moons. Now there's technically, it's helpful to think of what the ellipse would appear like around that perpendicular. The perpendicular of the light source. That's a good thing to learn and study, and I encourage you to do that. But as I'm just sort of thinking quickly and just kind of really trying to get familiar with doing a lot of spheres and kind of just quickly understanding. For me, it helps a little bit more to think of succession, like I said, of sort of ever darkening crescents. I'll show you what I mean, as well as a couple other things as we're getting closer to the light source. But I like to start off with this idea of crescents. And basically I'm just going to shade this in. This is representing the dark side, the shadow side. I'm thinking of Star Wars now. I'm going to blend that a little bit because that's always fun. A lot of times what I end up doing is sort of blending and then cleaning up. Blending things beyond sort of specific edge and then coming back and defining that. Hopefully better than that. So if this is sort of my first crescent moon, sort of quickly and no nonsense, then I'm going to come in, I'm going to soften the edge of where that actual moon is beginning. Make sure that's soft. Might even add a little bit of shading to that softness. The light will sort of be going around this. But the thing I really want to start getting to is creating another darker crescent moon in the opposite direction from the light source, still on the opposite side here. Partly what helps me really kind of envision and feel the form is more about creating a graded shading situation than just a pure graded shading, as opposed to getting too involved with things like core shadows and reflected light. Those are all really cool things to practice and learn and understand. But for me, what really helped both sort of feel this form as well as just practice creating a cleanly transitioned graded shading fill was by doing things like this, doing cylinders, and just, well, doing all sorts of things. So you can kind of see my the crescent moon that's based on, yeah, that ellipse that would be going like this, and this will, the ellipse will be shifting depending on where the light is coming from. The other thing I want to think about, just in continuing to round out this form and make it more spherical, is looking at how transition around to the others, to these sides over here, will also be in what, anything that's not technically all the way in shade or in darkness is called a halftone. Always seemed a weird name to me. It seems like there should be halftones and 3/4 tones and quarter tones, but a variety of halftones. Areas where there is light hitting, but not quite as much light because the form is turning away a little bit. Or the light, yeah. The light is not in a position to where it can keep going around. This is going to be a decent amount of back and forth. I am going to intentionally not worry too much about this demonstration. It is very fun to spend a lot of time kind of trying to really see how the graded shading creates the illusion of rounded form. It's quite fascinating. I'm going to kind of build up a little bit more softer. One of the there's different ways of thinking of this, how I'm moving the pencil to create the shading. Sometimes I'm hatching in one direction. Sometimes I'm sort of going in circles. It's sometimes called veiling. I'm probably coughing on charcoal dust now that I think about it. Yee. So when you start learning more about shading and lighting, there's some really cool things, like I have mentioned, that happen with the fact that if this sphere is actually someplace where there's anything around it, which usually things will be around it, usually it will exist in a space, that there will be some light bouncing off things around it. Sometimes more light, sometimes not as much light. And that will create some neat effects with what's called reflected light, as well as creating a core shadow, which is something that is, like I said, fun to learn about. But practicing this basic kind of crescent moon shape with gradual shift in value is a great way to start just sort of understanding and feeling how the change in value creates the illusion of three-dimensional object interacting with light. So that's the idea for the sphere. See if I can go back to my original one. Well, hold on. I'm going to define. I like not ending videos, but faking that I am going to end. I'm going to come back and define the edge of the sphere and do it in a way that is not going to, I'm going to keep adjusting this and I'll show you in a sec. But I do want to make it clear where the line ends. But in order to not have the effect of specifically an outline per se, which is usually I don't like to have sort of that outline. Just a pure outline. But what I prefer to do is to clean up this line like this so that it's very crisp. I'm going to sort of stop on this part. And then as I I'm approaching that dark outline to create a gradual transition of shading so that there's a pretty quick change from light to medium to dark. But the point is to have this dark quote-unquote outline not be something that stands out, but as long as I have a little bit of gradation leading up to that outline, then it will become just the point at which you can no longer see this particular sphere, as opposed to it being its own form, its own thing of an outlining line. So I would do that kind of all the way around, but making sure that it's getting progressively darker as I move away from the light. This over here sort of lost all its intense, its drama, its darkness. Maybe it was never there, I'm not sure. I'll go back and look at the video. But do try this, and try squinting and seeing how the shift in values will make it appear as if it's rounding away from you, or if it's flattening out. Like I can tell something, seems like something in here is not quite gradual enough. So it seems a little bit like it's not really round, but it's a round sort of sphere that somebody slugged, and it's sort of flattened out this one area. But that's the idea. Let me see if I can find that original one before. Yeah. So you can certainly, hopefully you'll see the similarities between that last one and this one. I spent more time trying to make the transition gradual, but do create circles and then shade them in to try to create spheres. Look, here's one I started that didn't really work, but perhaps I'll use it as an opportunity to sketch out a circle and maybe pretend that the light is coming from a different direction than my general model, starting off with kind of that, blending it. I am using a charcoal pencil. Oh, I think I don't know. So it is easier to blend, I will say, which is fun. Starting off with that sort of situation and then coming back and making a little bit darker and skinnier crescent. I mean, even just that there is sort of a quick way to think of, certainly going to make that look spherical. I'm not sure if this is on camera. No, I just did that direction. What if it was something up this way where for some reason the light was coming from underneath? Same idea. Start with that one crescent. Come back and make a darker one, further away from the light source. Probably should have stopped with that one, huh? Let's see here. check it out. Have fun. Like I say, pretty fascinating. Now, depending on how the values subtly shift, how that will leave the illusion of a three-dimensional object. I'm going to turn it off and keep working on this one. Because now I'm mad. Okay, not really. Part of it was that it's not that great of a circle. Okay, practice those in different kind of scenarios, but the basic general model idea is that a light will be hitting someplace on a sphere. And thinking about concentric crescent shapes getting successively darker is a great way to go about understanding the general form